When will schools open? And when will things get back to normal? What's going to happen to cancelled exams? And what if I don't get the grade that I was expecting? What's going to happen to my place at the university? And how about the many young people that were working either part-time or full-time? What's going to happen to my job and the lost income? These are some of the questions that are running through the minds of many young people across the country and in different places, and increasing stress and causing anxiety and depression. And it feels like as if their lives are hanging in the balance, not knowing how things will be tomorrow. Psychologists tell us that as human beings, we are wired for comfort and we are wired for predictable things. And therefore, we don't deal with uncertainty very well. I want to share with you about 3 thoughts or 3 tips that I believe will help, especially for young people, deal with uncertainty in this crisis that we are dealing with. I can imagine the anger even in some, and sort of feeling unfair and frustrated that they work so hard all these years to prepare for exams, and now they're having to miss out on many opportunities, seeing their friends leave as parties and the many other things that feel so unfair and feel so frustrating, that as if every work that they've done is been thrown away. But I want to help and support and come along young people, many of us right now, in how we can navigate ourselves even in these uncertain times. Do you remember when you were called, even as a young person, to a family sit down by your parents, or called to your head teacher or principal's office, or even to your boss, and you didn't know what it was about? Our minds, in order to fill that void of not knowing, tends to run different scenarios in our head as a defense mechanism to prepare us. And unfortunately, our minds are wired to come up with the most worst possible scenarios, so that somehow we're prepared for the bad news even when it happens. And so our minds do that in order to fill that gap that is happening in our minds. And the danger is that it creates a lot of fear, it creates a lot of anxiety. I remember I've had many arguments in my head over conversations that have not happened yet. Because I was going to meet somebody, or maybe I was going to have to talk to somebody about some things that didn't go very well, and my mind fills itself with all sorts of possible arguments and scenarios, and emotions run very high. But let me just share those 3 things that I believe will help and support us in this time. And number 1, I think it is important for all of us, especially young people, as you're growing up, just to learn and to embrace that life is always going to be full of surprises. COVID-19 is not the first, and certainly it's not going to be the last. Life is this way of throwing you sort of surprising things that you didn't expect. Sometimes you work so hard and you don't get the opportunity and you're told no, and sometimes you fail an exam after putting every effort, or you don't get the job that you expected. One of my favorite quotes is by Muhammad Ali, when he was asked, in your boxing career, what was one of the most painful punches you ever took? And his answer was, it's the one that I didn't see coming. Unfortunately, life is always going to throw some things that you didn't see coming. It's not those things that matter, but it's how we receive them, and it's how we maximize them, and it's how we allow them to make us feel. Number 2, it's important also to embrace and understand there's some things that are simple gonna be beyond your control. Young people right now are facing uncertainty, especially those that were gonna sit exams. How am I gonna be graded? And that is beyond our control. Most of you have done what you could have done, and most of you were going to do more, but now the grading is up to the teachers and up to the schools, and it's going to affect your university, it's going to affect your future, and it's scary to think about it, but that is beyond your control. So life is always going to have some things that are beyond our control. We're dealing with COVID-19. We can wash our hands, practice social distancing, stay at home, but how the disease spreads and the search for the cure and the many things that the scientists and politicians are doing is just simply beyond our control. We can only do what we can. So what can you do with what is within your control? Or rather, maybe let's just ask ourselves, what is within your control right now? I believe the time that is in your hands and how you use it is within your control. And also, how you allow all this to make you feel is always within your control. And the third thing is, when uncertainty comes, it is a way of bringing fear that paralyze you and make you stop. And I can imagine many young people are, even some are struggling getting out of bed, spending the whole day in bed on their phone, worried about what's going to happen with their grading, with their exams, with their future, and the many other things that they're missing out on and they've worked hard on. But you should not allow not knowing to paralyze you. But instead, we can take advantage of it. And that is because how you manage yourself and how you prepare yourself, even when you don't know, even when you're in crisis, will define how you come out when everything else opens up. John C. Maxwell, one of my leadership mentors, always says that when preparation meets opportunity, success is inevitable. I want to encourage you, take advantage of this opportunity. Learn a language, learn, another course, develop yourself, do some things. It's an opportunity to evaluate our choices. It's an opportunity to, connect with family. It's an opportunity to do the many other things. There's always an opportunity, even in a crisis, and how you manage that opportunity defines how you come out when everything else is opening. Many schools and teachers are still engaged with students. Carry on with your studies, carry on with some research. If you're going to university, it's an opportunity to get ahead and not worry about the placing and the grading, but begin to prepare in faith, even in understanding what do I want to do, what are some of the opportunities of the course that I want to jump into, so that when everything opens, you've been preparing as if everything was going to follow as normal. When everything opens, you will be ready. Remember, because something is delayed does not mean it's denied.